Oops, I was muted. Sorry about that. I hope everyone had a happy Easter, spending lots of time with your loved ones. Okay, I know there's a lot of other streams going on right now, and that's fine. This is just something a little different that I've been thinking about doing and working on, and I thought it would be a really good time to go over. Hey, Grandma Sherry, I'm glad you're here. I know if you guys are watching the replay later, I will have some timestamps in the description to talk about these cases so you'll know, if you want to jump to straight to them or jump around, they'll be there. Still trying to figure out StreamYard, so that takes me a minute. So I had to add like all the photos into an overlay because I couldn't figure out how to show them otherwise. Thank you, 6M Media. Happy Easter to you. I hope everybody had a great Easter. We celebrated yesterday with our adult kiddos came over yesterday. So today we kind of just did lawn work. Overseeded some grass and then put down some pre-emergent and watered it all in. I think I got sunburnt. I feel a little ugh. Happy Easter, Truth Finder. But while I was doing that, we extended our property last year. So now our yard's an acre and a half. And so we had a lot to sow in. And I was listening to, I think, Chasing Truth for a little bit and then some other streams. And I was just thinking, and I was like, I wonder what's out there for true crime that took place on Easter Sunday. And I thought, well, that might be a interesting video, but videos actually take quite a bit of time to make. And so I thought, well, let me go see what I can find and we can pull it up and pull it all together for a live. So I know it'll be a little different than normal. We're not going to be talking about all the stuff going down on the streets right now, maybe later in the live, but um, hi, Elizabeth. I really do hope everybody had a great life. And so all of these are going to come from articles, and I will have those all linked in the description below afterwards as well. There was some pretty crazy ones. I don't know if anyone's ever looked up Easter Easter Sunday true crime. There's some very interesting cases out there. Let me see, which one do we want to start with? Hi, Earth. Happy Easter. Hope you had a great Easter. Okay, so like I said, StreamYard is still very new to me. I just upgraded it, so it's still a lot for me to figure out, and I don't have all the kinks worked out. So bear with me. I thought I did, but I guess I don't. So the first one was actually the inspiration, well, allegedly the inspiration for the opening scene of Jeepers Creepers. Now, I can barely remember that movie because it's something I watched when I was a kid, but I don't know if anybody remembers this opening scene here with the roadside encounter where that big, like, tank-like looking thing was chasing them around. Yeah, that allegedly comes from the case of Dennis DePue. Let me see. So this is Dennis and his wife, Marilyn. On Easter Sunday, April 15th, 1990. Sorry about that. I had to cough real quick. I apologize. On Easter Sunday, April 15th, 1990, Ray and Marie Thornton were on a traditional weekend drive along Snow Prairie Road on Rural Highway 12 on Rural Highway 12 miles outside of Coldwater, Michigan. In their rearview mirror, a Chevy van suddenly appeared, driving aggressively before overtaking them. The couple had been playing a game of making slogans from the license plates of the passing cars. So when the van sped past them, Marie saw the plate beginning with GZ and remarked, "Geez, he's in a hurry." As they approached an abandoned schoolhouse, let me put that for you here. The Thorntons saw the same van parked to the side of the building. Then Marie caught a glimpse of something disturbing. So this is the actual abandoned schoolhouse that they drove past. The driver was holding what appeared to be a bloody sheet and walking towards the rear of the schoolhouse. Marie, although shocked, was not quite sure what she had just witnessed. And as they discussed calling the police, Ray Thornton saw an ominous van approaching again in his rear view. Gaining speed rapidly, the same Chevy van that they had just seen at the schoolhouse now rode their tail for the next 2 miles. And this is what inspired the opening scene of the 2001 horror movie Jeepers Creepers, allegedly. As the Thorntons worried what the driver pursuing them would do, they turned off the highway just as the van suddenly pulled to the side of the road. To try and obtain the full license plate for the vehicle, Ray Thornton turned his car around and they approached the green van again. Now, however, the man that they had seen driving was now crouched down, changing the rear plate of the van. The Thorntons could also see the van's door was open and they could see inside the front passenger door, and the inside of it was soaked in blood. Rushing back to the schoolhouse, which why did they go back? These people are brave. They found the bloody sheet that they had seen earlier, partially stuffed into an animal hole. As they contacted the Michigan State Police recounting what they had just witnessed, unbeknownst to them, police were already scouring the area looking for that man and his injured wife. Dennis Henry DePue was born in 1943 in Michigan and remained in his home state as an adult while working as a property assessor. In 1971, he married Marilyn. I think I thought I had their wedding picture, but I guess I don't. The couple had 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. But DePue's paranoia and controlling ways had emerged, wearing Marilyn down. The sullen and withdrawn DePue isolated himself from the family and frequently accused Marilyn of turning the children against him. Marilyn filed for divorce in 1989, telling her attorney that DePue was trying to control every decision in her life. DePue made no claim on the house following the divorce, but maintained a home office in the garage, so he was still there frequently. And one day, Marilyn came home to find DePue sitting on the couch in the living room, despite her having changed all the locks. The couple's divorce was finalized in December of 1989, and just 5 months later, Marilyn would be dead. DePue became completely unhinged on Easter Sunday, 1990, as he arrived at the family home to pick up 2 of their children. Their younger daughter, Julie, had refused to go with DePue that day, and as he went inside, he became angry when their son, Scott, also began stalling. When Marilyn talked to DePue, his anger increased, and he grabbed her, shouting accusations. Grappling with Marilyn, DePue pushed her down the stairs, and as their horrified children looked on, DePue meticulously no, sorry. I'm reading this off of a small article, so I'm trying to like blow it up as I read. I apologize. DePue mercilessly beat her at the bottom of the stairway. With the children pleading with him to stop, Jennifer, their oldest daughter, ran outside to a neighbor's house to call the police. DePue left the house with Marilyn seriously injured, telling the children he was taking her to the hospital, but they never arrived. The police had begun a widespread search for them both. Then the Thorntons' encounter with DePue's van and the bloody sheet came to light, making Dennis DePue the main target of the police's investigation. A forensic team sealed off the abandoned schoolhouse crime scene, and tire tracks at the school matched DePue's van. The evidence strongly indicated DePue killed his ex wife, which was confirmed the next day as a highway worker discovered Marilyn's body, shot once in the back of the head, lying near a deserted road. The road was midway between the schoolhouse and her home. Over the next several days and weeks, Dennis DePue sent a series of bizarre, rambling letters to friends and family. Attempting to justify Marilyn's death, 17 letters in all, postmarked in Virginia, Iowa, and Oklahoma, in which he ranted over her tricks and lies, writing how he had lost his wife, children, and home and was now too old to start over. On the evening of March 20th, 1991, as a Dallas, Texas woman arrived home, she noted her boyfriend's van sitting in the driveway. Unusual because he usually kept it inside the garage. Once inside, her boyfriend, Hank Ke Hank Queen, told her he needed to take an emergency trip home. His mother was very ill. Hank kept an interested eye on the Unsolved Mysteries episode playing on the TV, gathering up his clothes and personal items, asking her to make him some bologna sandwiches for the trip. He deliberately wanted to keep her distracted in the kitchen so she could not see the show. The second half of which featured a man named Dennis DePue, wanted for the murder of his ex-wife. As Hank said goodbye to her, driving off in his 1984 Chevy van, the woman had a weird feeling that she would never see him again. DePue took off immediately, fearing one of his girlfriend's friends would recognize him from the popular show and drop the dime on him. He was right, as state and county law enforcement already had the false Texas license plate of DePue's van based on a tip from the show. And so another article I was reading said that before the show even ended, one of his girlfriend's friends actually called in because she was watching the same unsolved mystery. It took DePue 4 frantic hours to drive into Louisiana, then across the Mississippi state border. Louisiana state troopers had spotted DePue's van, and he led them on a 15-mile high-speed chase, refusing to be pulled over. Across the state line, Mississippi authorities lay in wait, alerted by their Louisiana counterparts and the FBI that the driver was wanted for murder. When DePue's van blasted through a roadblock, Warren County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office shot out both rear tires. DePue shot at officers' cars, trying to ram them off the road. As his van dragged along before coming to a forcible stop by officers around 4 a.m., an officer approached his van. DePue was found dead, with a 357 in his left hand and his thumb on the trigger. So that's how Mr. DePue met his end. And I thought this one was just really interesting because of the connection with Jeepers Creepers and the possibility, of Jeepers Creepers or his actions having a role in Jeepers Creepers, the movie, as well as the fact that the friend saw him on Unsolved Mysteries and called right then and there. Yeah, Faith, they couldn't rewind TV back then. So the fact that she's like, "Oh crap, I know that guy," and called it in immediately, and within 4 hours, his life was over. So she got on it really, really quick. And, we think about how fast social media moves today. And, back then it would have, social media wasn't a thing. And so seeing that on the TV and it all happening so quickly, that one just blew me away. I don't want this. Oh, well, Marilyn was actually, she was really, really a beautiful woman, and she was a school teacher. And She loved her kids. Everything I read about her, she was a very beautiful, sweet, kind woman. Yeah, I love the unsolved mystery shows back in the day. We do need shows like that again. We really, really do. Okay, I'm gonna take a drink real quick and then I will move on to the next. I know which one I want to save for last, so I'm trying to figure, okay, which of the other two should I pick? I think we're gonna go with this is Wayne and Charmin stock. Now, I'm gonna warn you guys, I'm pretty bad with names, so give me a little grace there, okay? Typically, when I'm editing a video, I can, stop and redo it 3 or 4 times before I get it right. But this one has a really tricky name in it, and I tried practicing it, and it just was not coming to me, so you're gonna know when I try to say it. It's pretty bad. Okay. This well-liked couple, Wayne and Charmin Stock, were found viciously murdered in their Nebraska farmhouse. This is their farmhouse. Apparently killed on Easter Sunday, 2006. The tiny town of Murdoch, Nebraska, where many hadn't locked their doors for years, was in utter disbelief. It was, of course, a total shock, said former pastor John Wacker. There were all kinds of theories running around. Okay, here comes the name. But to Kofoed, it's Kofoed. So I'm going with Kofoed. But to Capued, a veteran investigator of the Douglas County Crime Lab, the crime had all the earmarks of a revenge killing by someone the Stocks had known to have or have had to have known. We didn't see any indication of robbery, so we thought this has got to be a personal attack. Attention quickly focused on the Stocks' 28-year-old nephew, Matthew Livers. Livers or Livers? Matthew submitted to a polygraph test, which he was told he failed. Matthew was also reportedly angry at the couple over a money matter at the time. After initially denying responsibility, Livers eventually began to break down under videotape police questioning. Now, the issue with his interrogation is, and he's the one here on the left with the blonde hair, is well, here, I think the article will get into it. If not, I will update you. Livers told police that he and Sampson had been driving a tan car that night, and witnesses came forward who had spotted a suspicious tan car speeding on a road near the farmhouse the night of the murder. Even more damning, the car Livers said they had used had also been taken to the car wash within the hours of the murders. The car was detailed at 5:30 in the morning on the same day, said Kofod, which is an awful odd coincidence. But there was no corroborating physical evidence, no DNA or blood to link the two men to the crime scene. So police sent in the CSI lead investigator, that Kofo Ed. I can't with that name. Famous in Nebraska for being able to find evidence when no one else could. Hmm. Yeah, we're going to get there. Kofoed went into the car Livers said he had used to commit the crime, and although earlier processing of the car had turned up nothing, he found one single drop of blood from the crime scene. The case was made, and Livers and Sampson were charged with murder. But there was this one unresolved detail: a golden ring found on the kitchen floor in the murder house. It didn't belong to Wayne or Sharman Stock or any of their friends, and it didn't belong to Livers or Sampson either. It was a minor loose end that would ultimately turned the case upside down. Here's another picture of them. They're such a cute couple. Okay, Christine Gabig, a young investigator from the Douglas Crime Lab, set out to trace the gold ring found in the murdered couple's kitchen, which bore an inscription, Love Always, Corey and Ryan. The inscription is pretty unique because it's on the outside of the ring, Gabig said. It also had a jeweler's mark on it. Gabig was able to trace the ring to a company in New York State that had just gone out of business. When I called, it was their last day in the office. This woman was just there cleaning out the office, she said. A day later, and the ring might never have been traced. 70 phone calls later, Gabig had discovered that the ring belonged to a man named Ryan in Wisconsin, but it had been stolen along with his red pickup truck 2 days before the murder. A young couple was in custody, believed to have stolen the truck as part of a multi state crime spree. 17-year-old Jessica Reed and her boyfriend, 19-year-old Gregory Fester. Reed was a former honors student who fell in love with Fester, who had a history of hot wiring cars and robbery. Under videotape questioning, the couple admitted to killing the Stocks during a late night random robbery on Easter Sunday. The ring, along with two other pieces of evidence found at the scene, had a mixture of DNA from Reed and Fester, as well as blood from the murderers. It seemed like an airtight case, but police believe Livers and Sampson must have been involved as well. After all, they had a confession and the blood evidence found in the car by Kofoed. Reed said interrogators tried to pressure her into saying Livers and Sampson were also involved in the murders. After being threatened with the death penalty, she said she briefly did implicate Livers and Sampson, but then almost immediately recanted. For police, the sticking points were the confession and the blood evidence. If Livers and Sampson didn't kill the Stocks, why would Livers have confessed? And how did blood from the crime scene end up in their car? So this part is where Kofoed is being questioned by the media. So did anyone begin to wonder about your blood specimen? And he said, obviously, eventually they did. One of the people who wondered was Special Prosecutor Clarence Mock, and his answer would rock the world of Nebraska law enforcement. The evidence demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt that David Kofoed planted the DNA. The seemingly airtight case against Livers and Sampson was beginning to unravel. This is the guy whose last name I cannot say. Kofoed. Special Prosecutor Mock said the lie detector test that Livers was told he failed had apparently been incorrectly scored. And he said Livers, a suggestible man of limited capacity, simply confessed to a crime he did not commit. So another article I talked about how Livers and Sampson, I don't know how long Sampson was in an interrogation, but Livers was in interrogation for over 11 hours. And he talked about how, we've seen it on like Making a Murder. He just filled in the blanks of what law enforcement was saying to him, and that's how, they came to believe that he had actually done something, was simply by him filling in where law enforcement was leading him to, unfortunately. Mock said Kofoed believed Livers and Sampson to be guilty, planted evidence to make sure they would be convicted. But could the legendary lead CSI investigator really be guilty of planting evidence? Kofoed, he, protested his innocence until the very end, and he ended up actually being sued, and he was found guilty by his peers. And this was when Livers and Sampson were released, and that's Livers on the right there. And thankfully, sorry guys, my throat is sticky tonight. Thankfully, Livers only spent 6 months in jail, but I say only because we know that it could have been so much worse. He could have been in there a lot longer. And the last article that I read about this, it was in 2017, and I couldn't find something new. And it said that they were getting $6 million, where Samson was getting like 2 point something, and Livers would be getting the rest. And it was from Kofoed that had to pay that out. So, and they're also going to sue the state. It was a very, and then these guys are serving, they're both serving a life sentence for the murders. Let me go back to, there was also a really sweet article about their kids, and now their kids have taken over, um, let me grab their name again because I have forgot it. Wayne and Charmin stock. They have this huge farm. It's a 1,300-acre hay farm. They in Nebraska, and their 3 children have taken it over. Well, one has. He bought the other 2 out, and they're continuing on the family legacy. I'll put that article in the description as well because it's just a really beautiful story of how they were able to turn this horrific situation around for their whole family. Hi, Burden of Proof. I'm so glad you came in. Just checking this stuff over here. Okay, so the next one is a doozy. I don't know. I'm sure some of you have heard of it before, right? I hadn't heard of it before, but once I got to reading about it, I was starting to question myself as to why I hadn't heard of it before. I was trying to find the name of the movie that they made up. Well, there's several movies made off of it. Oh, sorry, I muted again. All right. This is the Ewell family. Dale Ewell, the father, hadn't made his fortune in life by being a pushover. Growing up during the Great Depression, Dale knew the value of a dollar and the hard work that went into earning each and every single one of them. By 1992, he'd earned a reputation as a strict and often ruthless businessman who had made millions selling small aircraft through his business, Western Piper Sales. Dale's wife, Glee, a former teacher, had spent the years of her children's youth as a Martha Stewart like homemaker and civil activist. As a stay at home mother, she had been responsible for the child rearing duties, and Dale had been the disciplinarian. It was later said that Dale ran his home with the same force and determination he did his business, often following the biblical scripture Proverbs 22:6 that says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, he will not depart from it." Such was not the case for Dale's youngest child and only son, Dana. From the time Dana, let me grab here. From the time Dana could talk, he'd had a knack for fabricating tales on just about anything, from where he was born to parental abuse. No one or nothing was safe from being the target of Dana's lies. As Dana grew, his storytelling would become a major contention between him and his father. What may have been cute from a tow headed child wasn't so funny when spewing from the mouth of an obnoxious teenager. Nor was the sense of entitlement Dana wore like an extra layer of skin. Dale had grown up during the hardest economic times in America. As a result, he didn't have a lot of material things as a child. Being a self made millionaire, he tried to rectify that by spending lavishly on his children. Dale made sure they had the finest things that money could buy. When Dana went off to college at Santa Clara University, he did so in designer clothing and driving a BMW. At SCU, he regaled classmates with stories about being a stockbroker at 18 and the current owner of a company that grossed $2.7 million per year. It's just, this kid is just ridiculous. Dana's lies would be interpreted by as those of an ambitious young man. Yes, Dana was indeed ambitious, but he wasn't willing to work to make those stories a reality. One of Dana's college pals who believed the lies that spewed forth from this spoiled little rich boy was Joel. Joel was fascinated by Dana, by his wealth and success, and most especially the ease in which Dana was able to get the hottest girls. Joel, who was rather weasel-like in appearance. I have his picture, but it's just his mug, like him in court. So I'll go ahead and share it now. This is Joel. His friendship with Dana changed everything. Although he still didn't get the caliber of girls that his friends did, Joel was having a blast at parties and meeting some of the campus's more elite students. In 1992, Dana asked Joel for a favor. Joel knew he couldn't say no, otherwise, the good times were sure to end. Dana enjoyed the luxurious lifestyle his parents afforded. So much so, in fact, he wanted it all to himself. Now, he didn't want to wait for his parents to be dead. That would take decades. Or would it? Dana approached Joel with a surefire plan to become a millionaire. Knowing family members were always at the top of the suspect list, Dana would secure an airtight alibi while Joel acted as a hitman. On Easter Sunday, April 19th, 1992, Dale and Glee, along with their daughter Tiffany, headed home from a holiday weekend at their beach house. They had no idea what awaited them inside their Fresno home. Joel had been laying in wait for hours on a sheet of plastic to avoid leaving clues when he heard the family car pull up the drive. Sorry. Also, another article said, actually, it was several articles reported this, that he had also shaved his entire body down so that he wouldn't leave any evidence behind. So I'm also kind of wondering if he was there naked on that sheet of plastic. That would have been completely horrific to walk into. So he was on the sheet of plastic to avoid leaving clues when he heard the family car pull into the drive. Glee and Tiffany had driven to the beach house and were the first to arrive home. They had barely made it in the door when they were shot with a silenced 9mm assault rifle. That's what it says here, but I don't. It was a 9mm. Anyway, Dale had opted to fly one of his small business planes to the beach and arrived home 30 minutes later than his wife and daughter. As he entered the home, before he even realized what happened, Dale was also killed by Joel. When the triple homicide was discovered 2 days later, as expected, Dana was a primary suspect, but he wasn't worried. Dana had been vacationing with his girlfriend Monica Zent and her FBI father 200 miles away from the scene. It was certainly a good alibi, and detectives, who intuition told them that the college kid was responsible, were kind of stumped. This is the home that they were in. For the next 3 years, Dana would play a sly little game of cat and mouse with the detectives, but eventually he would find himself staring at life behind bars from the paws of police detectives. Dana had seemed unconcerned by his family's murder since the beginning. Although people's reaction to such a tragedy can vary greatly, Dana's immediate question about his parents' estate went against that usual behavior. The detectives also found it suspect that Dale's three brothers were more than willing to point the finger at their nephew. Even before the triple funeral for the family, Dale's relatives hired attorneys to block any attempts by Dana to collect his inheritance. Can you imagine how must, before the funerals even took place, all these family members are suspecting this kid. That just blows my mind that they were instantly willing to jump to him. I mean, they had to have known something was up if they all instantly jumped to him as a suspect. I'm gonna take a small break and hop over. Yeah, FBI father, right, Grandma Sherry? He knew what he was doing. I wonder if he started dating her so that he could set up that alibi. Like, if he knew. Okay, I'll hop back over here. Yeah, I mean, they also talked about it's not in this article, but later when they take him to court, the detectives like released a 100-foot long timeline that they had came up with for Dana and his buddy Joel. So I was just really impressed by these detectives. I know it took them a while, 3 years, because as we know, things don't happen overnight in true crime, right? Investigators were catching up to him. His extended family was accusing him of murdering his family and fighting for the family estate, yet no court filings or finger pointing could stop Dana from living it up. This guy, let me just tell you, makes the Menendez brothers look like angels. He continued to spend with wild abandon, lavishing girlfriend Monica with gifts. He even paid some of her college tuition and bought her a car. Dana didn't know the meaning of the word job, so where was all the money coming from? Diligent detectives, knowing the motivation for the murders undoubtedly centered around money, continued to dig. Their efforts finally paid off when they discovered that for 3 years, Dana had biked his bilked sorry, like I said, it's small. Dana had bilked his ailing maternal grandmother's account of almost $400,000. By the time investigators made their discovery, the elderly woman was left with only $2,000 to provide for her extended care in a nursing home. Scamming grandma was proof to the police that they were right about Dana. No one was safe from the greedy bastard. So this doesn't go into it, but what it was is when his parents passed away and when they were murdered, he actually took over his grandmother's estate because it was his mother in charge of it. So he got control of that living trust to, administer the grandma's monies as he seen fit to provide for her care, but he just milked it all away completely. Time and again, police had questioned Dana, his girlfriend Monica, and even his friend Joel. But the trio continued to deny any knowledge, and investigators had nothing but circumstantial evidence. In every murder conspiracy, there is always a weak link. In this case, it was Joel. Whether it was a guilty conscience or an attempt to impress a friend, Joel eventually spilled the beans. The breaking of the dam began with Joel's old high school friend, Ernest Jack Ponce. Ponce wasn't someone to bring home to mother. He was a petty troublemaker. He called upon his old buddy to inquire about purchasing a lock-picking kit. Police were eager to solve the Ewell homicide case, which was growing colder by the minute, and eagerly listened to the story Ponce had to tell, one of helping Joel dispose of the murder weapon and silencer. It seemed they were on their way to solving the triple homicide. Unfortunately, it would seem it was all for nil when Ponce refused to take a lie detector test. But he redeemed himself when he allowed police to eavesdrop on a telephone conversation he had with Joel. When police visited Dana's dorm at SCU to tell them they believed Joel had murdered his parents, Dana said nothing. But his color drained from his face spoke volumes. Investigators watched from afar as once it seemed the lawmen were gone, Dana and Monica, who had been visiting, rushed to a nearby phone and placed a call. The recipient of that call? Joel. In the days following their announcement to Dana, police worked to build a solid case against Dana and Joel. In 1995, they arrested Dana on 3 counts of first degree murder. They were really happy to get this guy. And they also arrested Joel, his brother Peter, and Jack. Peter and Pons received immunity in exchange for their testimony. On May 27th, 1998, a jury found Joel and Dana guilty of first degree murder of Dale, Glee, and Tiffany. Both men received 3 life sentences with no chance of parole. This was them both in court. I thought I had. Oh, let me see. There was another article on this one. I wish I would have saved it, but I will find it and put it in the description because they went into a lot more detail about what took place, uh, between all these people, and the jury actually didn't believe that Jack had nothing to do with it because when he got on the stand and retold the story that Joel told him, there was a point in there because allegedly Joel had told him about the murders that when he had committed the murders, he told his friend Jack about them. And when he was retelling that story, he slipped up and said, what was the exact sentence? I'm going off memory here. It was basically like, uh, when I looked into his eye or something like that. And so he put himself in first person. And so the jury was always extremely suspicious of Jack, but he was testifying under immunity, so there was nothing that they could do about it, unfortunately. Um, and Jack is actually now a lawyer in California, and this is Monica. She's actually she runs a law firm in California as well. I think it was like some $40,000 that Dana ended up spending on her. Dana is carrying out his days in prison, and oh, I didn't save that picture. I actually found him on an my inmate pen pal search list. It had a bunch of updated photos. I'll see if I can find it real quick because I was like, this guy's a freak. Who would want to chat it up with him? But some people do. I don't get it, but some people do. He said he found his, you know, let's see here, I can share this with you. So here he is now. This is Dana Ewell, and this is his inmate classified list. This is what he looks like now. I don't know where he got a cat in prison because he's still in. I don't, do they have pet days in prison? Or like the wearing of normal clothes? I don't get that either. Is that? But it is him. Yeah. Says, "If you can relate," oh, he says, "experience the most brutal of teachers, but you learn. My God, do you learn? If you can relate to the above, you are not alone." And then he just goes into his life. I'm not gonna read it all because I just think this guy's a narcissist. He saw his family's money. It was $8 million is what was at stake, and he promised Joel half of it. And he saw that money and he wanted it all for himself, and he wiped out his entire family to get it. And it just makes me sick. He does look a little like Brian Kohlberger. He does. This case was, they wouldn't let it be aired because of all the hoopla around the OJ trial and everything, so they were trying to downplay that to a certain degree. So the judge only let a radio station broadcast the audio. So I think that could be one of the reasons it didn't get as much attention as like the Menendez brothers or the OJ trial did, but it's just as horrific. Oh, thanks, Burden. This is just I normally do a lot more digging and a lot more researches on cases before I would talk about them. This I just, want to talk about some Easter true crime. Oh, thank you, Shannon. Shannon Scopper. I hope you have a happy Easter as well. Yeah, rich guy prison. Who I've never seen that before, but again, I'm not well versed in prisons, so I don't know. I'm with you, Cassie. He took 3 lives. I'm a Christian. I am, I will proclaim that. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus as my Lord and Savior. But this whole like prison religion stuff, I don't know. I can't, I obviously don't know where his faith truly is, but when it happens like that, it just kind of feels icky. It's not for me to judge, but I feel like I guess I don't realize exactly what all happens once these guys go to prison. Because in my mind, okay, they're in prison, they're gonna be in it, especially if they, could have had the death penalty, even though we know, like, California doesn't have the death penalty, but, like, I just wanna envision them in a dark, nasty cell for the rest of their life. I don't wanna see a guy smiling, holding a cat, and talking about getting pen pals. That just frustrates me. Yeah, and he wiped out his grandma's bank account. There's also a story of so his grandpa ends up dying in the course of those 3 years as well, and he was a really good looking honestly, I'm not gonna lie, these men were good looking men in their family, and, this is the grandpa here. He ended up dying in a house fire, like, some type of bomb went or not like a huge bomb, but like a homemade bomb went off in his basement, they think, or it could have been the propane. It's it's whatever, but there is still there's a weird coincidence that Joel happened to be in Ohio where grandpa lived at around the same time. So it kind of makes you wonder if there was more going on there. Also, the grandma that he stole all the money from and left her with $2,000, he had moved her to a cheaper nursing home and had requested where her room be facing like this outside wall or outside space until law enforcement intercepted and had her moved to another room because they were afraid that they were him and Joel were planning to do something to her. Well, I just meant it wasn't like a huge, I couldn't remember exactly what the article stated, but it was like I think the article said bomb-like, so it wasn't, I'm thinking more of like a cocktail or something that sparked a fire that burnt down the whole house, but it was something different. Yeah, and he's in prison also. Joel, even though he's the one who committed the actual act of pulling the trigger, allegedly, I kinda think this Jack guy was in on it, and this one I might there's a lot of, documentaries and stuff out about this one. I hadn't heard of it before. I think it's called Murder for Millions, but I might actually watch it because this one's a lot deeper than me skimming over it. No, I can't. I can't ruin hell raising a kid like that. I think any parent, probably Dale and Glee included, would have been like, take our lives. The only reason he killed Tiffany, his sister, was so that he could have her share of the millions. And that just makes me sick to my stomach. But I think any parent would have been like, "Here, we'll give you everything. Just, don't harm your sister," had you known that. But I everything I read about Dale and Glee, they seem like amazing people. Tiffany was a amazing, accomplished young lady, extremely sweet, and then you just have this spoiled brat Dana who it was just disgusting. So I can't blame the parents when it comes to situations like that because we don't know. You can as parents, you can raise 2 kids in the exact same environment with the exact same love and compassion, the same discipline, all those things, and those 2 kids can be completely different. One can end up a murderer, one could end up a judge. It's baffling. He did want it all, evil queen. It's just greed. He took to take I cannot comprehend or wrap my brain around taking your parents' life for those millions, but then on top of that, throwing in your sister. Yeah, burden, it is. Money is the root of all evil. That doesn't mean that money itself is evil because it's just an object, but the love of money is. And his unwillingness to work hard or to just even work at all. His family probably would have filled in the gap a little, but he just refused to do anything. They bought him like a brand new, I can't remember if it was a BMW or a Mercedes, and he was always dressed to the nines in college in like Armani suits, which was kind of weird for a college kid, but whatever. He was always dressed up and he had that luxury car, and he even wrecked it at one point, and the dad replaced it, swept it under the rug and replaced it because he was embarrassed by his son's actions. So there's some like overcompensation happening there, but they all end up behind bars with nothing. I don't understand kill others for money. Yeah, yeah, exactly. He didn't even end up with the money. He was extremely mad when there's a report of when he went into like when they went in to go over the will. There's a clause in it that he wouldn't get the money until like, it would come at different increment payouts, and we even have it set up like that for our kids now, but his first payout would come at 30, then 35, and then finally he would receive the rest of the estate by 40. So, he was looking at, like, another 6 years before he received anything, and I guess he slammed his fists on the desk and was, "How could he do this to me?" he screamed out. Now, I don't know when they read the will, but I wouldn't think it would have been before the funerals. So, I don't think that's what made the brothers suspicious, but the uncles, I should say. Yeah, Murdoch is a good example of that. It does. I wonder if they modeled that off after him because he does kinda look like him. There's one more, and it's pretty rough. And there's also some graphic photos even though they're in black and white, so Imma warn you now. Yeah, burden he was. Wow, that's so true. I agree with that evil queen. I think some people are born that way. Oh, I hit the wrong thing, sorry. Okay. I don't know if anyone has heard about this case about James Rupert. Easter Sunday in 1975 was like any other in Hamilton, Ohio. Children hunted for eggs, mothers made last minute preparations for family dinners, and entire families were dressed in new clothes to attend morning church services. For the Rupert family, the day started out happy. They worshiped together at an early service and then gathered at 635 Minor Avenue in Hamilton, a middle class community about 30 miles from Cincinnati. But what happened that afternoon, excuse me, March 30th, 1975, went down in history as the deadliest shooting to ever occur in a private home in American history, and it left a grim and troubling haunting behind. It was James Urban Rupert was born on March 29th, 1934. His early life was sad and abusive. His mother, Charity, often called him a mistake because she had wanted a daughter. His father, Leonard, was a violent man with a quick temper and little time or affection for his two sons. I am going to grab a cough drop real quick. I am so sorry. I think I got too much sun, and I don't know how that equates to a sore throat, but maybe it's the wind outside today. But ugh. Okay, so Leonard, the father, was a violent man with a quick temper and little time or affection for his two sons. He died in 1947 when James was 12 and his brother Leonard Jr. was 14. He wasn't missed by anyone. Leonard Jr. became the head of the family and, according to James, picked on him incessantly. James did poorly in school, had few friends, and was always smaller than his brother. As an adult, he was only 5 foot 6 inches and weighed 135 pounds. At 16, James was so unhappy at home that he attempted suicide by hanging himself with a sheet. He failed and resigned himself to an unremarkable life. As he got older, his resentment for his brother grew. James flunked out of college after 2 years, while Leonard earned a degree in electrical engineering and excelled in sports. To make matters worse, Leonard married one of the few girlfriends that James ever had, with whom he had 8 children. Leonard had a great job with General Electric, where James, at age 41, was unemployed and living with his mother. On top of it all, James owed money to his wife and brother, from whom he had borrowed large sums of after losing what little he had in the stock market crash of 1973 and 1974. Charity was frustrated with his inability to keep a job and his constant drinking, and she threatened to evict him. The threat seemed to have been what finally sent James over the edge. On March 29th, James' birthday, witnesses later reported seeing him shooting at cans with a 357 Magnum along the banks of the Great Miami River in Hamilton. He went out later that night, and at the 19th hole cocktail lounge, he talked with employee Wanda Bishop. She later recalled that James seemingly deeply or seemed okay, they misspelled it here. Seemed deeply depressed and talked about his mother's demands on him and her threatened eviction. He said that he needed to solve that problem. He left the bar at 11 p.m. that night and later returned. When asked if he had solved the problem, he replied, "No, not yet." He stayed until the bar closed at 2:30 a.m. On Easter morning, Leonard and his wife Alma brought their 8 children, ranging in ages from 4 to 17, to see their grandmother at the house on Minor Avenue. James stayed upstairs, sleeping off his night of drinking while the children enjoyed an Easter egg hunt in the front yard. Afterwards, they came inside, and while Charity, Alma, and Leonard finished lunch preparations, the children played in the living room. Around 4 p.m., James woke up, loaded his .357 Magnum, two 22 caliber handguns, and a rifle, and went downstairs. He entered the kitchen, where he shot and killed Leonard, Alma, and Charity. His nephew David and his nieces Teresa and Carol were also in the kitchen. He killed them too. James then rushed into the living room, where he killed his niece Anne and his 4 remaining nephews, Leonard III, Michael, Thomas, and John. He killed each of his victims by first taking a disabling shot and then finishing them off with a head or a heart shot. The massacre took less than 5 minutes to complete. These are a couple of pictures from inside. James sat in the house for 3 hours before he called the police. When they arrived, he was waiting for them just inside the front door. The police described the scene as a slaughterhouse. There was so much blood splashed about that it was dripping through the floorboards into the basement. To this day, stains can still be seen in the wood. The murder shocked the small community and some headlines across the country. Those who knew James never believed that he was capable of such violence. He was a quiet, unassuming man and the perfect neighbor. So here's this picture. I'm not gonna put it up long. This is from inside the kitchen. Thankfully, it's in black and white. And then here he is, James being taken. James was arrested and charged with 11 counts of aggravated homicide. He refused to answer any questions and was very uncooperative. He made it clear that he planned to offer an insanity defense. Prosecutors believed that he planned to plead insanity and then, after being cured, would be released to inherit a $300,000 inheritance. Now, in 1975, that would have been quite a bit of money. The original trial was held in Hamilton. A 3-judge panel found James guilty of 11 counts of murder and sentenced him to life in prison. A mistrial was declared, and a second trial was held in Findlay, Ohio, about 125 miles north, since it was decided that James could not get a fair trial in his hometown. The second trial began in June 1975, and prosecutors offered new evidence about James's target shooting and the statement about solving his problems. In July, he received a new sentence of 11 consecutive life sentences in prison. Series of history. James appealed, and a new trial was granted in 1982. Defense attorney Hugh D. Holbrook convinced his client was insane. Yeah, that's what it says. Convinced his client was insane. Sorry, sometimes the punctuation's in a weird spot, so it gets me. Convinced his client was insane, personally funded the hiring of expert psychiatrists from all over the country. On July 23rd, another 3-judge panel could James guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. That should be found James guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder, his mother and his brother, but found him not guilty of the other 9 counts by reason of insanity. He received 1 life sentence for each guilty count to be served consecutively. Between 1972 and 1976, the death penalty had been suspended in the United States as a result of a pending U.S. Supreme Court decision, so James could not be sentenced to death for his crimes. James Rupert remains incarcerated today. Well, this is an older article because he died last year. in the Allenwood Correctional Institution in Lima, Ohio. Um, in the wake of the murders, the 11 victims were buried in the Arlington Memorial Gardens in Cincinnati. A year later, the house on Minor Avenue was opened to the public and all of the contents were sold at auction. It was cleaned up, carpets were placed over the bloodstains that could not be removed. It was rented out to a family that was new to the area and had no idea of the horrifying events that occurred there. And they quickly moved out. There's actually an article about another lady who ended up buying the place, and she was like, "Yeah, I know." Well, she didn't know until after she bought it that what happened there, but she was like, "I'm not leaving my home." Said you drive. She said, "You drive every day past intersections where people are killed," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't sit on couches where right underneath of it a child was murdered." It just seems so weird. This was them removing the bodies from the house. And I think I showed all of the ones of James at trial. And then this is him. This was his second to last mugshot. And this was his last that was taken just a few, I had that backwards. The other one was taken just before he died. And he died last year, actually, just before Easter. So that one is known as the Easter Sunday Massacre. And I just see all of those beautiful kiddos with such a bright future ahead of them. Just jealousy and senselessness. Just checking the chat and saying hi to everyone coming in. We're just going over. Yeah, that insanity plea is really hard to win. And I see Letitia Stausch trying for it now, and I'm like, or Stock, sorry. It's like that. I don't think that's going to work out for you very well. But I guess we'll see. But that's all I had on these guys. I really just wanted to share some true crime with y'all. So here lately, it seems like all we've been talking about is drama, drama, drama. And sometimes it's a good reminder of the real life drama. Real life drama is a good reminder to keep us grounded. Yeah, that whole massacre of the just 11 lives is just insane. Well, it wasn't he wasn't supporting the kids. It was his brother had the 8 kids. James didn't have 8 children. Hey, free Rebecca Turner. I did have a great Easter. We celebrated yesterday and we just had a really awesome, awesome Easter. Hey, Rebecca Crazy Dog Lover 94. Yeah, I that was some of the videos that I listened to today with some of Letitia's stuff because I'm not well versed on her case. I just started digging into it once the trial started. And I was listening to some older stuff. She did a lot of things to hide what she did. I don't know if you can hold an insanity plea with all the extra steps that she put in there. It just feels like it would be extremely difficult to do. Hey, good Nanya. Yeah, yeah. I don't think it was about the carpet at all. I think it was, well, it could have been about the carpet that, like, you know, made her just kinda lose it on him, But if they actually did go hiking the next day, I feel like it was something that happened after that, unless I got my timeline off, but I thought it was the candle, then the hiking, or am I wrong? I could be on that one because, like I said, that is not a case that I am extremely well versed in. I do too, Faithful. I do too. Now I do know that one quite well. I am ready for that trial to start tomorrow. I'm so happy for Kay and Larry Woodcock. I am very, very happy that they get to attend. I know that I don't did it has it ever been sussed out whether Larry has to testify first before he can attend, or is he going to get to attend even before he testifies? Last I had read, he had to testify first. So hopefully the prosecution will put him up there very early to testify. Hey, Avery. See, in my opinion, Letitia, is that fail or fails all of the insanity? Yes, yes. She started to work on covering it up before she did it. And you know what? I don't understand. Why are they going with DID? Because if anything, she falls under some other um, mental categories. I would put her on under some other ones, not DID, but I'm not a psychiatrist. So, well, it's nice to meet you, Kylie. Thank you for coming in. I know this one's a little different, but I appreciate everyone coming in and listening to me ramble on about Easter murders. Sounds horrible. Ugh. But even I think that it's the complete contrast of the day, right? This is the day we're supposed to be celebrating Jesus being rose from the dead, and then all these horrible things have happened on that day. And that's just a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the horrible things that happen on that day, as well as every day, obviously. And this isn't me preaching at you, but I see the contrast of Easter. And even if you're not religious, Easter for non-religious families means, families getting together and the Easter bunny and the Easter egg hunts, and it's still a beautiful day. And so the stark contrast of the two is what really got me. Okay, that's what I had read last too, was that he had to testify first. So I didn't know if that had changed yet. Oh, thank you, Burden. Thank you, Gala. I thought so. I know I can do my own research with some of the cases. Yeah, it is. Some cases are really hard to go through. I don't have an issue going through those details at all. It doesn't bug me to go through rough details or to look at crime scene photos and stuff like that, but I know it does a lot of people. I'm very mindful of that for others. Hello, Hippiporium. Yes, Kay and Larry seem like very beautiful people. Everything I have seen on them and heard from them, they're very lovely. And I am so glad that they are finally getting their chance, as Larry has said before, to sit there and stare them down in the eyes. I'm glad that they're getting that. Thank you, Kat. What kind of psychiatrist? Kind of. Evil Queen, I agree with you. That is, I typically like to pretend I'm on the jury. There's a little bit of behind the scenes with DeetS. I like to pretend I'm on the jury, okay? And even if I know so much about the case, I like to pretend I don't. And that I'm hearing it through their, like the jury's ears for the first time. And I agree with you. I don't know that I'd want to be on that one. Because of how complicated it is, it's going to be extremely difficult to get all of that across. I would agree with that. Histrionic personality disorder or narcissistic personality disorder is what I was thinking of, Avery. Hey, Yannis. Did you know about 2 of them? I didn't know about any of them, I don't think, at all. I'm sure I'd heard the Easter Sunday Massacre one before, but other than that, I hadn't heard of them. Yeah. Holiday murders. Uh, I'll have to this was like I said, I just thought of it after listening to that stream at, like, 2 o'clock this afternoon, so this was just quick searching and, grabbing of pictures and stuff. If we do another one, it'll definitely be my own words as opposed to articles, but don't worry, the articles will be linked below because those were not my words, and I wouldn't want anyone to, assume that I was trying to portray they were. You have 11 dogs? Holy cow. I have 1, and he can sometimes drive me crazy, and sometimes he's perfect. And then our daughter has a dog that I love to pieces and I wanna steal all the time. Oh, yes, we would I like that too. Um, it was interesting because I felt like we were able to look at it a little objectively, and in the end, still ended up being guilty, didn't he? I have you seen the TikTok of, yes, I would love to do that, where the guy talks about, professional jurors, like, "Why don't we have professional jurors? People that go to school for that stuff." I'll have to find it sometime, it's hilarious. Oh, wow, I'll have to look into that, Avery. There's a Christmas massacre on North Pole Lane in Santa Claus, Georgia. There's in Santa Claus, Indiana, too. I covered it last year. Ooh. I think it is interesting to do holiday crime as well. But I was over listening to, as I was researching this, I was sorry, I have to quit remembering to put my hand in front of the mic. Um, as I was researching this tonight, I was listening to Alex Erickson, and she was playing some of Letitia's daughter's social media content. Have any of you guys seen any of that? There was like a 1 month tribute video that she did for Gannon, and then there was a video of a hike right before Gannon was killed, and I don't know if it was the hike that they took the day before or if it was a much earlier hike, but it was on her, social media, and so Alex played that, and I thought that was really interesting to see because 'cause I'd never really seen her daughter or heard from her daughter, and she's a social media influencer. I thought that was crazy interesting. But what's been going on around these streets today? Now that we're kind of through true crime. Seem like it's been pretty quiet except for maybe, what's her face? Lion Lady saying that she was coming for, not coming for, but what she said about chasing truth, that cracked me up. Harley, okay, I couldn't remember, I didn't wanna say her name because I couldn't remember, was it Harley or Hartley? So I didn't wanna get it wrong. Yeah, she does, and I think Alex played some of that tonight, it was really interesting. Yeah, chasing the man, she's a dude. You know what's so funny is everybody hears their voice differently in their head, I think. 'cause I know I do. I don't sound like this in my head. And so whenever I hear myself in a recording, I'm like, "Oh my god, I sound like that?" But in my head, I sound more manlier than I actually sound, on recordings or in spoken, if you're right here hearing me. And so I think it's really I just thought it was funny that she said chasing sounded like or, was a man or sounded like a man, and no, she doesn't. She does have a deep voice, but she don't sound like a man. Yeah, she said she has very manly features and comes across as a dude or something like that. Who knows? She's just over there doing her nonsense on Kick. Where is my reservation? Maybe that's to someone else. Oh, thank you, Gordon. I love listening to you do your content and cover your cases. You do such a good job of it, and you have a true heart for victims, and I love that. Love it. Yeah. Yeah, she smack talked Graves too. She's actually kinda trashed him a few times before, if I remember correctly. She should be her cheekbones are close to flying. I don't know, that was good. She had a lot of work, hasn't she? I've been told that I sound young. I am not. My, youngest child is 21. I'll be married 23 years next month. I feel like my voice is yeah! And you don't have a deep voice either. Yours is kinda like mine. And so, you get it then. It just feels deeper in your head, doesn't it? Or it sounds deeper in your head. And then you hear yourself and you're like, "Oh, I'm not deep at all. I gotta quit trying to talk like I have a deep voice." Mm. Had you heard of that about the Easter Day Massacre, Rebecca Crazy Dog Lover? Thank you. I love him a lot. He's a great guy. He is a great guy. Yep, 23 years. Yeah, she was funny. She always cracks me up. She has such a good way with words, and the, Mandela effects were those were funny. We were actually, outside when she was talking about those, and I hollered over at my husband because I know he's seen all the Star Wars movies, and I was like, "What did Luke and Vader actually say to each other?" He didn't say, "Luke, I am your father." He said, so he told me what it was. It cracked me up. I believe Grayson that was regurgitated material. I believe that, like, okay. She got a script she's following over there, and so, back to page 1. Yes, Verdon does have a very sweet, soft voice. I honestly haven't been over to Kick yet, and I don't know if I plan to. It just seems like, do I really wanna add another thing? I'm with you, Grandma Sherry. She ain't gonna get any new subs over on Kick. And yeah, 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 she got $1,000 the first day, but it's just that first day boost, in my opinion, first month boost, whatever. It's gonna quickly dwindle, but I just don't wanna add another app and another thing to follow, so I know there'll be some clip channels out there who are clipping it and sharing it, and it'll be good. Speaking of clips, I have about 3 I'm working on that I need to finish. Evil Queen, did you ever see when, Molly went up on Gray's panel? Here, if I can find it. Find it real quick. I found the live. It's 4 years ago. Holy cow. Let's see if I can find a clip. Oh, oh my gosh, there's a it's a live of Grace from over 4 years ago. He just looks so young. YouTube's rough on you, man. Okay, let's see. Did she get the kicks or she should receive them right here. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to watch a bunch of YouTube videos on StreamYard before I go live again. Get all the things situated. All right, let's see the part where Molly's on. We're just gonna watch bits and pieces of it. If someone could put Gray's link, because it's on Gray's channel, in the chat. I've only seen someone play this. I haven't actually seen it.
I got you.
That's right.
I'll give you a little leeway on that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to figure something out while we're going, maybe, but who knows? Yeah. So, who's on right now? Let me turn down this music because it's really loud.
Your music is always loud, Gray.
See, look at here's how it worked. Go Lightly was so into having me go on. I had to just hit the button to go live, right? I wasn't ready. Yeah.
Are your viewers watching this right now?
I think there are some people watching. I have to get to the screen.
I have a message for your viewers.
Oh yeah. Let's get to.
And I'm gonna give it to them right now. If you are a subscriber and you just love Gray Hughes Investigates, I want you guys to know the truth about Gray Hughes. Gray Hughes is a diva. He's quite a diva.
Gray Hughes is a diva. Oh my goodness. This definitely has to be YouTube history right here. Does anybody know if they did anything else after this?
For this live, I felt like I was waiting for Beyonce and Kim Kardashian to go through hair and makeup. Yeah, took me 3 minutes to get ready for this and him. Lighting, sound. I gotta go to bed.
Look at her Christmas tree spinning in the background. I can't. Her Christmas tree is spinning, guys. Oh yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I gotta get my apples. Let me get my drink. Yeah.
It was a bit like that.
He's a total diva. He will make you wait. I feel like I'm online for the Batman ride at Six Flags.
Yeah, I was gonna start eating an apple as well.
Okay, why does Gray have her over here? And then as him, I didn't even realize this was him over here. He's got her pictures also. It must have been like me, first day of StreamYard. Oh my gosh. I don't know her personally, if that's what you're asking me, Rebecca. I know her from YouTube. This is hilarious. Well, see, I put up the background and then I couldn't figure how I wasn't showing it earlier. That's why I said I'm gonna have to watch a lot of stinking videos on StreamYard, but I'll get it. Trust me. Once I dig into something.
But the problem is yeah, I wish I could. I got to figure out how to get me on the screen with you at the same time.
I'm with you.
I do see this is me, but I have my OBS camera set up for it. So unfortunately, it's going to do that little mirror on a mirror thing 1,000 times. But you guys all know who Go Lightly is. You've been on her channel, and she covered the Chris Watts case like no other. And she's a life coach.
Like no other. Yeah. I don't know if this was before her disrespecting Shanann or after, but yeah.
And she's really good at that part. I can say I watch her show.
98% success rate.
Well, what about those other 2%?
There are people that I refuse to work with ever again.
Let's see. Well, this is me, everybody. So I am here now on my other screen. If I move this over, I wonder what that looks like. Yeah.
Look how young Gray looks. Oh my gosh. I sure did. Sorry, I was just looking at the chat for a second. I don't know what's happening there. He does look like a kid. He looks
So you can kind of see that we're both on in my software at the same time. Oh wait, that would almost kind of worked right there.
Yeah,
on my screen on the right, I can see both of us. But as soon as I go to that screen, so I'll have to figure to kind of be part of my channel, and got really offended if I. There was one part where she found some kind of a document in the. Let's see. Can't remember the case, but she couldn't find a document. She found a document, and then she made a big production out of it. Big post on Facebook saying, "Oh yes, wow, unbelievable information, breaking news. I'll let you guys know later." And then I said, "Well, what is it?" "Well, I can't tell you now. I got to verify. And we went back and forth 100 times. And I go, "Listen, in my group, you share stuff. We'll determine."
Okay, let's go all the way to the end.
The idiot. Yeah. So what we did was, Ada was reading one, and you know how it says LOL. She read it as 101. So she was like, "Oh, hey Chris, I think you're really cool, 101." And I go, and then we all started laughing. We go, "No, that's LOL." And then now everybody uses 101 for LOL in the chat that are regular.
Did you love Candace's letters?
Oh yeah, they're just
how amazing was it that people wanted to slam me for blasting Candace's letters, and then the day after they were being blasted on HLN.
But you had been mentioning her name for a while though. Weren't you in communication with her prior?
She called me.
I do have to say, Molly looked really good here. What happened? Does anybody know? Ellie. We went back in time, Ellie. This is 4 years ago when Molly Golightly was on Gray Hugh's panel. But she does look healthy. You know what I mean? I don't know, but like she looks better here. Let's see. Okay, we're close to her hopping off, so I think that's where it's a little funny.
Yeah. But this was even before the letters were out, right?
Money. I said, I'll clear your name. Just give us a reason why you did it. And I asked her, I said, are you, I said, I want to go, I want to take it back a second. Were you a victim in childhood? And she said, yes. And then her own family, her sister sent me an email and said, you know, we believe that she's been lying to you because we know for a fact that she was at that court the day of his sentencing. They're like, she's still going after him. She's lying to you, but she's embarrassed because her name's all over the place. And I was like, I didn't give that too much thought because I was still on Candace's side. I was like, I can imagine how she feels. But when it came back to me in screenshots that she's calling me a bitch and blah, 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 for no reason, I was like, Felicia, I got that envelope and I was like, you get nothing.
I feel like, how do I say this in a nice way? I feel like Gray at this moment would rather be sticking pins in his eyeball than doing this whole life. I could be wrong, but that's just how it seems. Oh yeah, Grandma Sherry. What this was crazy what she did with Shanahan. Were you, Tracy? Just trying to see if you had something else or just that you were a mod for her. Not anymore, huh? That's what I'm saying, Ellie. I wonder what he's thinking while all this is happening. Hey, Suits and Boots. Mick Molly. What's Mick Molly? Yeah, I thankfully was not on YouTube or any of that, but I've seen the clips. That was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
That's right. And so shines a good deed. Yeah, wow. That's
so lightly. You will regret. You will regret when I say that was my best Russian husband.
Oh, here's one that you probably didn't follow either, but you might have. The heart case. There was 6 African American kids that were living with 2 women that were married, and the lady drove them all off of a cliff. One of the parents did. This isn't like near Oregon, like south of Oregon and Northern California. Yeah. So what happened was the kids were they're being abused the whole time. Like every time you see a picture of them, they're really skinny, and the CPS has records of all these different incidents. And these kids ran over to the neighbor's house one night and tried to.
That is a horrible case. I cannot think of the name of it off of the top of my head. 2 moms drove off a cliff with all the kids in the car. I watched a long documentary on it. If anyone can think of their names. That was a horrible case. That was tragic.
To get help. Devontae. Before that, though, quite a bit before that, one of the other kids ran over and said, "Help, help!" And she hid behind a bed. And when the parents came over, all the kids were made to say that they were. Okay. Okay, it's a crappy story though. Well, you don't have to.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna. Well, okay. I didn't.
She just leaves. I mean, it's a tragic case, but if you're co-hosting a show, you don't just leave. Let's see. She was in an hour and a half. She probably just wanted out. Let's see. Let's do that one more time, just for the giggles. And
these kids ran over to the neighbor's house one night and tried to get help. Devontae. Before that, though, quite a bit before that, one of the other kids ran over and said, "Help, help!" And she hid behind a bed. And when the parents came over, all the kids were made to say that they were. Okay. Okay, it's a crappy story though. Well, you don't have to.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna. Well, okay. See you later. I didn't mean to make a horrible story out of it.
You didn't make a horrible
I guess you left.
story out of it.
I wasn't trying to.
She's a horrible.
Are you still on the line though? Whoever called in? No, that wasn't on the line. Anyways, that was her. See you later. I didn't mean to make her hang up though. That's a really crappy story there.
Oh, you don't. Yeah, I feel bad for him there. You don't do that to people. Oh boy. Yeah, it does look like he was blushing, didn't it? Good night, Denise. Right? Why was that too much? She has done a lot of things. How is hearing about that case too much? And that's why I think she just wanted out of there. She'd been there for an hour and a half. That's a lot of brain work to put in for Molly. So I'm guessing she was just, I'm gone. And I felt bad for Gray too. The Hart case. Yes, Jennifer Hart. That's who it was. It was a sad case. McNugget Molly has changed. I guess she's Diet Molly now. Oh my god. I can't with that woman. Oh, Tracy, I'm sorry. So she says I was used and taken advantage of when I had a huge traumatic situation happen in my life. She drug me into the ground even further and never thought that was possible. Oh, I hate that for you. I'm sorry, love. That's horrible. Some creators, I'm just speaking broadly, some creators on here get really big headed after a while. She did, Burden. She made that so awkward for him. Like, what do you the live ends really quickly after that, like, 'cause what are you supposed to do after that? Like, "Oh, I can't, I'm out." So, I think he handled it the best he could, but yeah, you could tell he was yeah. Good night, Grandma Sherry. Thank you for coming in and listening. Yeah, she does. She has a lot worse than just that story. I know. Maybe that's why I don't think I've seen him have anyone up on panel in the past, like, year and a half listening to him. And so I maybe that's why he doesn't do that anymore. Way to go, Molly, you ruined it for all of us. Oh. Yeah, I don't know, I haven't listened to the whole live to see what led up to that conversation, but he's a true crime channel, so guess what he's gonna do? Talk about true crime. Guess what true crime is? Not good things. Like, I don't know what she thought. I No, I don't think I have. John Crime's interview of Molly. I think I saw him play a tiny or did he just use the thumbnail the other day? Or did he play a clip from it? Maybe he just used it as a thumbnail. It's only I can tell I got a sunburn. Do you guys ever get that feeling when you get a sunburn? Like you just feel like you have one. It makes you feel sick. I can tell I have that. Okay, that's a clip of it. Mm, I might have to look for that one later. Speak about Dumpy Dump. I don't know. Oh, that's Faded Jades. Hmm. Unless it's in here. I'm just gonna. Oh no, that's just him talking about her. Nope, I can't find it, so I'll have to look for it later. Bald-headed Betty. She's not bald yet. Even Gray got Molly. Poor Gray. Poor Gray. Aw. Have a good night, Hippiporium. I think I'm probably gonna head off pretty soon myself. Try to get a couple of those clips done and figure out what to do next and take a nap. But true crime on Easter. I guess what's the next holiday? 4th of July? Memorial Day? Is it just Memorial Day? Is that the next holiday? I feel like there's some no, I guess it is. Intentional nap. Take an intentional one. A TikTok mac and cheese recipe. Sounds good. It does sound really good. Yeah, Memorial Day is the end of May. I was trying to think if there was anything else besides Memorial Day between now and the 4th of July. I don't think there is. Thank you, Liplock. I hope you have a happy Easter. I hope everyone does. Or, well, it's over for you, East Coasters. But Cheetos mac and cheese. I gotta make my daughter pasta salad tomorrow and meet up with her. She requested it. Unexpected true crime stories, Ewell. That's right. Just a silly idea I had in the middle of the day. I thought, why not tell a couple Easter true crime stories? Reach out to John Crimes. He may give you some clips from his interview if you don't tag him because he's trying to keep his. Yeah, and I don't blame him for that because he's legit. He's trying to go legit, I guess, and then do a little bit of his stuff he said on his backup channel. And I like his work. He has great work. That's the beauty of editing videos, being able to take the time and come up with the story and the narrative and lay it out exactly how you want it. I have mad respect for creators that go live and just blurt it all out. You guys do a great job. That was just reading some stories, but you guys that really put stuff together, put a piece together and put it in order and have it flow so well, that's a good thing. But I'm gonna hop off of here and probably see you guys tomorrow or the next day or the next day. I love editing so much better than lives, Avery. It's so much fun. But lives are easy too. There's pros and cons to both. Pros and cons to both. But we have a big week in true crime. I just said bye, but we do have a big week in true crime, with the Vallow case, with the stock case. There's just so much happening too. So there's lots of good stuff besides the Karama, but there's lots of good stuff to dig into. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Love, love.